we are going to talk about Myles Turner again because I love the trade rumors. They're awesome. And this is what's the title of this? Myles Turner trade rumors, Lakers, Knicks, Mavericks among teams interested in the Pacers big man. So I'm not going to bore you with all of the nitty-gritty revolving around Myles Turner. The Pacers, again, they want to blow themselves the fuck up, right? They're like 10 games under 500. Despite that, they almost managed to beat the Brooklyn Nets last week, which is quite embarrassing. But at any rate, the Pacers are not having a good year. And we have a month until the trade deadline. It's actually a little bit more than a month. I think it's, February 15th is the trade deadline. And teams are calling. Teams are calling about Myles Turner, about Karis LeVert. I think I saw a report that said that the Cleveland Cavaliers were interested in him. Also, someone like Jeremy Grant, not related at all. But we're going to break out the trade machine because, listen, if you're an NBA fan, if you have the NBA Twitter brain cancer like I do, there's nothing more that you love than the fucking trade machine, the ESPN trade machine. Actually, I think there's a new NBA trade machine that folks have been using. We are going to keep with the ESPN trade machine just for the nostalgia factor. So we're going to select the Indiana Pacers, and then we're just going to go piece by piece and see what trade we can send through. And we are going to begin. Who are we going to begin with? Um, let's begin with the Lakers. Let's begin with the Lakers because fuck it, who cares? So Myles Turner, $18 million per year on a 2-year contract. He's averaging like 14 points and like 7 boards, I think, and is close to leading the league in blocks per game. If he's not leading the league in blocks per game, he's definitely within the top 5. I'm definitely going to struggle through this because I'm not exactly the brightest when it comes to facilitating trades along with the cap, but the Lakers are obviously interested in Myles Turner because what's Myles Turner? Arguably the best interior defender in the NBA. And what do the Lakers suck at doing? You can't just say everything, even though that's kind of true. They are a laughable defensive team. Now, the issue is, how do you make this work? How do you make the Lakers and Pacers trade work? I have this funny feeling that if the Lakers do decide to make a trade like this, Russell Westbrook is going to be involved somehow because they fucked up and traded for him in the first place, and now they're kind of just hanging him out to dry. Because you have 3 max players in Russ, LeBron, and AD who are making like 100 million a year, like 110 million a year, combine them. And then everyone else is on veteran minimums, aside from Kendrick Nunn and Taylor Horton Tucker, who is untradeable at this point. And he's untradeable because of some contract stipulation. He will be eligible to be traded on January 14th. When a free agent signs a contract or when a player, they cannot be traded until December 15th or 3 months, whichever is later. Okay, so Taylor Horton Tucker is off the board at this point. Now, we're just going to go ahead and say that the Lakers are going to trade Russell Westbrook. Now, we have to make about $25 million more of cap space match. Now, how does this happen? I think, first and foremost, the Lakers are going to try to trade for, I think they would try to finesse Karis LeVert because if you're losing Russell Westbrook, you're going to need another playmaker. Because at that point, who's your primary ball handler going to be? Or your primary point guard going to be? Taylor Horton Tucker and who else? You have Malik Monk, Avery Bradley. Not a good look. So we'll throw Karis LeVert in there just because this trade is successful. Now, this is, of course, a straight-up deal. I don't foresee this happening. It doesn't make any sense for the Pacers to bring in Russell Westbrook because what's Russell Westbrook? Russell Westbrook is older. He's older than both Myles Turner and Karis LeVert by quite a sizable margin, and they're trying to steer away from the age. They want to get as young as possible. And unfortunately, knowing that, I don't think that the Pacers are going to try to trade Myles Turner to the Lakers because I simply just don't. There's the Lakers, straight up, the Lakers have nothing that the Pacers want. So we're going to scrap this trade entirely. I would also, if they were to make something happen, maybe the Lakers don't trade for Turner and LeVert. Maybe they trade for like Turner and TJ Warren or somebody. But we're just going to scrap this entirely and we're going to head over to the New York Knicks. Now, I'm going to do my best not to anger anybody because that's the last thing I want is for Knicks fans to be angry at me. And I'm actually just fucking kidding. I don't care. I don't care. I'm going to try and be as nice as possible. But ultimately, I really just don't give a fuck. Now, there was talk about the Knicks in this article. It says the Knicks have several young players they could include in the package for Turner, with Kevin Knox potentially being the top target as his role in the rotation has consistently decreased since Obi Toppin has become noticeably better. You might be thinking, if the Knicks were unable to salvage Kevin Knox, and they had a decent amount of time to do so, why would the Pacers want to take that on? If everything works out, Kevin Knox does have the potential to be a very, very, very talented perimeter scorer, but he's shown negative flashes of that throughout his short NBA career. Maybe New York just doesn't work, and I'm not saying give up on him. Maybe, he does need the change of scenery. So I will throw him a bone. I will throw Kevin Knox a bone and send him to Indiana because he's also still relatively young, so he does fit into the Pacers timeline. If the Knicks are trying to trade for Myles Turner, they're going to want some sort of offense because the Knicks offense is so fucking revolting. It's very difficult to watch. It's a chore, man. It's a chore. The Knicks, Tom Thibodeau is a notoriously poor offensive coach. He just doesn't get it done on that end of the floor, and that's okay. That's totally okay. But you have weapons, dog. You have Julius Randle. You have Evan Fournier. You have Kemba Walker. I always want to say Kemba for some reason. I guess it's just the whiteness coming out of me. And he still hasn't been able to make it work. So we're just going to look at TJ Warren. TJ Warren, who hasn't played yet, I don't think. He's been cleared to increase his basketball activity. So TJ Warren will be coming back at somebody. Very, very low risk because TJ is an expiring contract this year. Same thing with Jeremy Lamb. I do really like Jeremy Lamb a lot, even though, listen, he hasn't been that great this season. He's averaging about 7 points. I don't know what he's shooting.
Let him get some rest.
He's actually been terrible from the field, definitely. They're less than 40%, not great. But how much of this is him kind of being hung out to dry in favor of the younger players? Because the same dude was just coming off 4 straight seasons of averaging double figures, shooting around 45% from the field each of those years. I think that the Knicks try to trade for one of these two. I'm going to say TJ Warren because I think when healthy, TJ Warren is a superior player. However, actually, do I want to say that? Yeah, I do want to say that. I think that the Knicks risk it for the biscuit a little bit, and they trade for an expiring player who is high risk or low risk, high reward. If you trade for him, doesn't work out, you just let him go. Now, the real difficulty here is going to make the money work because I don't want to trade RJ Barrett. I don't think the Knicks are entirely out on RJ Barrett. I legitimately think the Knicks trade Kemba Walker around this trade deadline. I really do. I think that it's kind of just not working out for some reason. And this is entirely the antithesis of what I was trying to say, of what I was saying before. The Knicks need more offense. But in order to get more offense, they're going to have to part with one of their best offensive players. And they're kind of just like stuck in neutral at that point. Because you're trading away TJ Warren for Kemba Walker. Or you're trading away Kemba Walker for TJ Warren. And TJ Warren is low risk, much like Kemba is low risk. But Kemba Walker is the superior offensive talent compared to those two. Now, I'm just going to try this trade. It's not going to work. There's still too much money going out. I wonder if the Nets I wonder if the Knicks kind of just say fuck it and they trade away Kemba and they trade away Kevin Knox and they just bring on Myles Turner and they kind of justify it as, well, listen, and this trade works, by the way. They're kind of just like,
hey, listen, we're a defensive-minded team. Why not make our defense as strong as possible and just slow the game down to as slow as we can? And we just hope and pray that at some point, Julius and Evan Fournier, you just pray that these guys go back.
Or I'm more so talking about Randall in this regard. You
Just pray that Randall starts to play like the all-star that we know he is.
I mean, they've already benched Kemba once this year. Tom Thibodeau, to me, does not seem too emotionally invested in Kemba Walker. I think that's kind of a weird thing to say, but I mean, you know the implications of Kemba coming to play for the Knicks, at least from a social aspect. And I'm sure he came in and he thought that he was going to be a big piece of the offense because he's deserving of it. He's, in terms of skill, we were just talking about Kyrie. Kemba Walker is the most skilled offensive player on that team, I feel like. Obviously, his shooting could be a little bit better, but it hasn't worked for them so far. And I wonder if like this is just the end of that experiment. I apologize that the first two trades haven't been super wonky. I'm not someone who tries to create these super intricate 3-4 team deals. I don't overthink it too much, and I really have no intention to, because then it's hard for me to remember, and I'm doing this live off the cuff. So I apologize for anyone who was looking for me to say, oh well, the Knicks trade Julius Randle and Evan Fournier for Myles Turner, Lance Stevenson, and Karis LeVert. I apologize, but that's not the type of trade I would do, because that's also just so fucking stupid. That's so dumb. Like, I'm trying to make it relatively realistic, right? I think the last team was Dallas and then Charlotte. We'll do Dallas, because I think this one. I think we can get a little freaky with this one. Myles Turner to Dallas. Who does Indiana take? I'm looking at this team. There's really nobody. They have a trade exception for Josh Richardson. Can't do anything with that. Well, listen, obviously, Kristaps Porzingis is gone. If Myles Turner is traded to Dallas, so we're just gonna pretend that he's going to Indiana. Now what? Dallas needs to recoup some offense. I wonder. Hear me out. Kyrie. Dude, why is it spawning so far off the page? What the fuck? So, we're sending Kyrie to Dallas. We are going to send Jalen Brunson. I love this fucking trade that I saw with Jalen Brunson and KP going to the Nets. I'm just not so sure if it'll work with the Pacers. Let's see. Let's try to send KP to Brooklyn. So, KP, Jalen Brunson to Brooklyn. Now, who goes to Indiana? I think Dwight Powell goes to Indiana. I'm not too sure why I think this, because Dwight Powell is like close to 30, and it's the same reason why I didn't want to send a Russell Westbrook to Indiana, because he's too old. But I do think that Dwight Powell can give, aside from his talents on the basketball court, right? He's a very solid defender, like a quality role player who straight up impacts winning. He simply impacts winning. Or no, hold on. We're actually gonna send Kyrie to Indiana. Now, who are we sending back to Dallas? I think it's got to be Karis LeVert, because the Dallas Mavericks are going to need another playmaker, because they're trading away Kristaps Porzingis, who is a huge piece of their offense. They're also trading away Jalen Brunson, who is another huge piece of their offense, particularly with the bench unit. So they're losing a lot of offense in this deal. Send Myles Turner to Dallas. You send Karis LeVert to Dallas. Their defense gets significantly better right off the bat. And then Karis LeVert brings just enough to the offense to where, especially with an improved defense, they might not need as much firepower as they once thought that they did. Now, I still don't think this trade is going to work, because the Pacers are over the luxury tax threshold. I need to cut $2 million from the Pacers' incoming trade value. I'm pretty sure that I can just send fucking. What if I send Frank Ntilikina? What if I sent Moses Brown to the Pacers? Will that make it work? No. So, all right, I got it. So I'm gonna send O'Shea Brissett to the fucking Dallas Mavericks, because if I remember, O'Shea Brissett can shoot a little bit. He can definitely shoot a little bit. He's shooting 38% for his career, even though he's only been in the league for 2 years. So that's something. I could make it cheeky. No, we're gonna send him to Brooklyn, because fuck you, I'm biased, and the Nets really need some fucking 3-point shooting. But let's see, does this work? It does not. I still need to cut. All right. So hold on. What if Dwight Powell doesn't get traded to Indiana? That's got to work. Oh, this trade is absolutely atrocious for the Pacers, dude. They do get Kyrie Irving, and they will have Kyrie Irving for the entirety of the season. But man, Dallas gets Myles Turner and Karis LeVert, and the Nets get Kristaps Porzingis and Jalen Brunson. Hollinger's analysis: with this trade, you have decreased the Pacers' projected wins by 12. I don't care. I'm ruthless. I don't give a fuck. This is definitely one of those forced trade scenarios on 2K where the GM's like, dude, are you fucking crazy? And you're just like, yeah, send this trade through. That was awesome. Now we're going to do one more trade. We have the Charlotte Hornets. I do feel obligated to touch on all the teams that are in this fucking report. The Hornets, certainly. No shortage of offense. I'm actually just going to skedaddle on over to their basketball reference page just so I can get an actual idea of what this team is working with. This team, the Hornets, very, very good, right? They're coming off beating the Milwaukee Bucks. I had a friend text me because sports gambling is now legal in New York. I am engaging in all the degenerative behaviors that my friends are. And my friend texted me because I think the spread for Bucks Hornets was 9.5 last night. He's like, yo, are the Hornets really going to beat the Bucks? And this was when the Hornets were up by like 13. As we know, Milwaukee climbed back into the game because Giannis is a fucking beast. But my only response was,
listen, bro, don't disrespect the Hornets. Don't let the spread fool you. This is a very, very talented team.
Second in points per game, third in offensive rating. LaMelo Ball, Terry Rozier, Gordon Hayward have turned this team into an absolute freak show, including Kelly Oubre Jr., who I fucking love. Right? I love Kelly Oubre Jr. and Miles Bridges. I forgot about Miles Bridges as well. This team has so much firepower that they might just shoot themselves into the playoffs because they're currently 8th in the Eastern Conference. They're up one game in the loss column to the Washington Wizards. So at this stage, they appear to be a play-in team. If I remember how the dog shit play-in rules are, it's like 7 through 10, I believe. So at this pace, the Hornets are in the play-in because they're only like a game up of the team behind them. So they need defense. If I'm trying to finesse this from the Hornets POV, I do everything in my power to hang on to LaMelo Ball. Obviously, Gordon Hayward isn't going anywhere. I don't think. Kelly Oubre is debatable. I would prefer to hold on to him, but if he is the starting piece in the Myles Turner deal, I think I go with it because you're losing your fourth best scorer, right? But you are gaining someone who is going to make your defense significantly more dominant, like worlds more dominant. And very much like with Dallas, that is a step back that you're willing to make. Also, no more Kelly Oubre. Granted, he's not the shot creator that LaMelo is or that Miles Bridges has turned into, believe it or not. Almost all of his points come on threes, right? He's fucking leading the team in threes attempted per game, almost 8, shooting 37% from there. So he's a huge catch and shoot threat. He is a big piece of your offense, but this isn't necessarily a role that the Hornets don't have other guys to fill. Like, this is super crazy to look at, but Kelly Oubre is the 9th best shooter on this team at 37%. That's absolutely preposterous. Literally, the entire team can absorb what you're losing in him. And I think just for the sake of the trade machine, you do that, you're going to have to trade somebody else. I have a feeling it's going to be PJ Washington because the Pacers are kind of like, hey, look, I know we're trying to rebuild, but we're not just going to let you fleece us. Like, that's not how. I know that general managers in the NBA are stupid, but, like, come on, man. This is like a new level of dumb. So, PJ Washington, another lights out shooter, 43% from downtown, 10.5 points a game, young enough to where the Pacers can incorporate him into the next stage of their rebuild. He's 23. Kelly Oubre is 26, so he's a little bit older, but, I mean, you can make it work. And I have a feeling Kelly Oubre he's on a short deal as well. So if it doesn't work, he's gone by the end of next season. So this trade definitely works. Yeah, of course. And the Hornets would be projected to be 7 wins better. The common theme here is that the Pacers do not get any better in any of these deals. They are the losing team in every single deal. And I think that they're okay with being the losers because ultimately the team that they've constructed has failed. Objectively, it's been a failure, especially this year. Like this team, like you have Sabonis, Malcolm Brogdon, what the fuck, Myles Turner, Karis LeVert, and you're just like doing dog shit. It's time, dude. It's time. Move on. Start new with Chris Duarte and Isaiah Jackson. Maybe you get Kyrie Irving. That's awesome. You don't have to extend him, but like you still get Kyrie Irving for half the season if that were to manifest. Yeah, the Hornets are going to be losers or at the trade deadline, at least in the short term. I don't think anyone is going to doubt that, but then again, I don't think we'll be as critical of them if we know that like they're doing these moves out of necessity.